for consideration to be an issue, it's got to be a huge disparity. So how is that going to be possible in the mortgage? Well, maybe what you don't know, which again, we have done so many of these, I've seen it. Do me a favor, and this will upset you. When you pull the chain of title, there's an assignment of the title. It tells you what they paid for the property. I dare you to look at that. How did this mortgage company get the property? They said, well, we own it now. We bought it from ABC Mortgage Company. No problem. What did you pay for it? I dare you to look at that. On most of them, because this is all like a big game, we have a number of them that say $50. It says they transfer title for $100, $50, $1,000. Oh, okay, wait a minute. You bought a property for $1,000, but now you want me to pay you $500,000 for the same property. Do you hear what I'm saying? It's an unsustainable argument. But again, if you're not asking the right questions, you're not getting the right results.
This is why, Dr. Grayson, why the federal government sued so many banks for this kind of activity. Just talk about that for a minute. I know there's a lot to talk about, but what we want to do, we want to destroy this myth that these people are not able to be defeated in a court of law by poor working people. These are people who are liars and deceivers and have used surreptitious means to acquire the hard-earned wealth of just regular people.
Yes, sir. And you have to, it takes numbers to pull this off. But if you Google any bank, any big mortgage company, just Google like Wells Fargo fines or complaints against Wells Fargo. If you Google that, it will upset you. Please don't Google Bank of America. Please don't. I guarantee you they've been fined close to 50 billion over the past 10 or 20 years. So if they're getting fined this amount of money, then that lets you know how much money they have stolen.
Right.
A fine is relatively small when you compare it against what you stole or did wrong or took from the consumer or what your fraud led to. Okay? They only fine you a small portion of that. I dare you to try that with any bank. Wells Fargo. Man, get out of here. Get out of here. Wells Fargo got sued because they were overcharging African Americans. I mean, these banks are all over the place with the fraud. As much money and power as they have, that is why we're doing this. Why do you got to steal? Just do business the right way. If you just do it the right way, you will be extremely successful. Why do you have to go the extra mile and rob and steal and defraud consumers? But you should know who you're dealing with. On every time we are involved with a foreclosure, we do research on who is suing you. You think, oh, it's Bank of America, they're an institution. We believe everything they say. Oh my goodness.
Right.
Fraud. Every year, every other year, fraud, consumer fraud. And then you get to court and the judge is going to pretend like these are good people. If you have a history, think about it. If you have a history of drug dealing and I catch you dealing drugs, then obviously you go to court and the judge, the first thing you say, well, I look at your record here and it says that you got arrested 10 times for drug dealing. You guilty. I'm throwing the book at you. You going to jail for the rest of your life. That's what they do to you in court, right? Look at your history and your track record. Okay, why are they not doing that for Wells Fargo and Bank of America? Because you're not making them do it. I want to see your history. And now it's easy. Just Google. Well, wait a minute, sir, Your Honor. Back in 2015, Wells Fargo was fined $9 billion. And this year, $10 billion, $1 billion, $3 billion, $4 billion. They have a history of fraud. Why are you acting like these guys are not crooks?
Yeah, and their position is it's the cost of doing business. Yeah. We'll take the hit with the fine because we're making so much money. The fine is nothing compared to the profit that we're making.
There you go. You are not doing it the right way, people. You got to do it the right way. You got to punish them. What I'd like to see is cross motions for every foreclosure. So not only do you win, you are happy, I know, not to lose your house to foreclosure. No, that ain't good enough no more. You need to take your house out of foreclosure and get a check for $500,000 so you can pay the house off. Because really, the house is already paid off. That lien is imaginary. The federal government has probably given them enough money to pay for that house. Wow. So please, we don't want to just shut down the foreclosure. You should be asking for some monies for what they put you through. Do they know that they don't have standing capacity? They know that they've been paid by the federal government to offer you loan money that they refuse to give. They know these things. So for you to sue me knowing these things, that is a crime. And that crime has led to damages, emotional damages. Okay? So
yes, sir.
Don't be afraid. This I took this graphic because I want you to see this how y'all look when you're behind on your mortgage. You're scared. You know they're coming for you. But you should not have a spirit of fear because God is in us. You is David and they Goliath, and they is ripe for the fall. Okay? The only way that you're messing up, 90% of you are messing up because you picked the wrong attorney. You filed for bankruptcy because you think, because the internet told you bankruptcy is how you stop a foreclosure. Technically, that is correct. It's how you stay a foreclosure. It's not how you stop it. In order to stop a foreclosure, it's got to be dismissed and thrown out. I'm going to show you some examples of that. Bankruptcy is not how you stop it. Bankruptcy is how you stay it. Okay?
There's a difference. That's right.
There's a big difference. You didn't use any foreclosure abatement filters. If you're used to some of our previous shows, you know that we always talk about debt filters. So there's a foreclosure abatement filter. And then finally, you pick the wrong reasonable excuse for default. And whenever you're fighting foreclosure, and let me tell you this, I would say 99% of attorneys get this wrong. 99% of them, because I read their work. Reasonable excuse for default. Most attorneys say the reason you stopped paying because you lost your job, death in the family, you were hospitalized, your dog got run over, whatever the excuse is. Is that a reasonable excuse for default? No. That is a reason for foreclosure. That's why you're losing. That is not a reason. I have a contract with you to make payments on the loan no matter what. So don't tell me you lost your job. That ain't my fault. We have a contract. Don't tell me you were in the hospital. I feel sorry for you, but that is not my problem. That is not an excuse for default. You have to find a real excuse for default, and there's millions of them. We're going to do a show probably just on excuse for default. But how about this? How about let me give you an easy one. We mentioned before QWR, right? So the law says, and this is RESPA, Real Estate Settlements Procedures Act. Google RESPA and read the section on QWR. So the QWR gives you the ability to ask for any documents that pertain to your mortgage. Most people use that to get copies of their closing documents, right? You left there and you lost some, you asked for closing documents. Man, get out of here. You got to weaponize the QWR.
Yes, sir.
The life of the loan transaction report. Ask him for documents. If you see my QWR, it'll make you sweat and nervous because I'm asking for stuff pertaining to my mortgage, but I'm asking for the stuff that you don't want to disclose. How much did you pay for this mortgage? How much, when you fractionalized and sold this as a securities instrument, you made money? How much money did you make? Because technically, you should have gave me a piece of that because it was my mortgage that you sold.
Wow. Wow.
Because you have not paid me or given me full consideration for the money you made off of my mortgage, that is an excuse for default. I can't pay you until you give me an exact accounting and tell me what you did with all that money. Every time the mortgage changed hands, you were supposed to notify me by law. As soon as you don't, that is an excuse for default. You're flipping mortgages all over the place, not notifying me as the law commands you to. The law didn't say who is currently servicing the property. The law said who owns it. If you change ownership, you got to let me know. I ain't found a mortgage yet in foreclosure where we knew who the owner was. You think just because they suing you, they the owners. Man, you better get off of my video. You don't know who the owner is because they never told you. If they never told you who the owner is, how did that owner give you foreclosure prevention as mandated by law? If you don't even know who they are, man, get it. Brother Wali, what we going to do with them?
Well, we're going to give them the courage. We're going to give them the hope. And we're going to give them the opportunity to come to an organization that has the knowledge and the courage to fight the Goliath and take his own sword and take his head off with his own sword. That's what we're going to do.
So we're going to have to probably break this into two parts. I wanted to go through the proper responses, what you should be looking for, how what the results your attorney should be getting, or if you're handling this yourself, I want to go through and break down. This is what it looks like. If you don't get this, this is not a win. This is what a win looks like. So we got a bunch of examples of that. So I think on the next show, we'll continue from this slide right here, and we'll talk about, what a victory looks like. And don't settle for nothing less. How are you paying attorneys 20, 30, 40 G's to save your house? And then they tell you, I'm sorry, we didn't save your house. Oh, but you're going to keep my 30 or 40 G's? Oh, okay. Or they tell you, pay us and then go into bankruptcy and pay all the money that you have in arrears plus the current mortgage. After you pay us on every time. Bankruptcy is nice for attorney because every time the bank get paid, they get paid. That's a nice payday. And all they got to do is fill out some forms. Give me an hour. I can get that documentation filled out, and then I get a paycheck for the next 5 years. That is a good business plan. The work we do, oh my goodness, I can't tell you how when that client called, we put hours in. We worked all weekend, 12 hours a day. I had to bring the whole team in to have them prepare her paperwork. Get out of here.
Well, Dr. Grayson,
we don't just do 1 or 2 documents and then you're on your own. Get out of here. We're going for the victory. We treat your house like it's our house. And I don't know about you, Brother Wali, but I'm not ready to be homeless.
Not even a little bit. Dr. Grayson, listen, we're going to wrap this one up to our viewers. We'll have Dr. Grayson's contact information in the links below in this video. We'll be uploading it very soon to YouTube. And also in the description of this video, you'll have the next time that we'll have this very enlightening, illuminating, and inspiring conversation with our brother, the great Dr. Michael C. Grayson. God willing, we'll see you all very soon. Dr. Grayson, thank you, thank you, thank you, sir.
No, I